Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Youth Plus Radio, where we're creating conversations and sharing stories of youth in action wherever they may be. So, to kick things off today, we have two charming young entrepreneurs of rising acclaim, locally and internationally, making big moves and shaking things up in their respective industries. Gentlemen, tell us a bit about yourselves. Who are you and what do you do?
Go first.
You go first.
My name is Opondo. I'm a Kenyan. Most times people confuse me from coming from West Africa, but anyway, I don't usually call myself much of an entrepreneur, but I say that I lead a team in a space and in a new frontier movement called Gin Black Concepts, which with Gin Black Concepts, it has like a mantra to it, that concepts, you want it all. That means I will not limit myself to whatever the client needs, whether it's in the space of what I like doing, like events, software development, product and research. I work with an enabling team, so that is what has brought about Gin Black. So Gin Black, my middle name is John. I speak a lot of French, so that is how Gin came about. I'm black. I think you can even see how black and dark I am. So I wanted to give a little bit of emphasis on the richness that comes with how do you accept yourself being black. And now concepts, I don't limit myself. We want to work on concepts each and every day, and I think even being where I am today, this is part of a new concept. So that is what Gin Black came about with.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Heshimiwa?
I should have started. No.
Pressure.
Pressure's real. My name is Orator, Otsieno. I'm a young Kenyan as well. I'm not as innovative in picking names as this guy. I run a company called Afridata. We focus on mainly customized tech solutions that we feel are tailored towards helping this nation and moving ourselves forward, as well as focusing ourselves in B2B kind of engagement, so assisting businesses, linking up with other businesses. So I always say my strongest point is networking, so why don't I put a price on it?
The question is, what's that price? How did you guys get started? Because as young people, we are from that age where we're told so many tia bidii, pate kazi kama daktari, engineer, and such. So what made you guys sort of veer off that sort of script that was laid before us and wanted to do your own thing, your own business, your own enterprise?
For me, first of all, I'd like to give credit to, before Gin Black came about, for years I've worked with a group of young different entrepreneurs. So let me just give a little bit, like my journey started with the UNESCO, that is a university community organization. And with that, I think I was still back in campus. So what we used to do was trying to bridge the social welfare gap that was between university students and the corporate world, because the people assume that the moment you've done from 4, you get to high school, university, it's all about help. And no, let me tell you, help is just to facilitate you a little bit. But the whole experience of how you're able to make an extra coin and survive in university was a big challenge. So I got myself in UNESCO. After UNESCO, I came and joined a couple of other young guys, which eventually it led me into getting into now the last entity that I worked for a very long time, which is Elite Sounds. Now with Elite Sounds, it's a youth-based events management company, 360 dynamic. And one of the things that we did over there was, I thank God that after going and working for an events company in Dubai, I came back, I found Elite Sound existing. The diversity that was involved, because there it was also gender sensitive. We also have female DJs over there, top DJ like DJ Listening. I've walked that journey with her to where she is now. Then there's the other co-founder, who is Martin Felix. I've worked well with him. We've done big projects locally, internationally. I'm talking about the World Under 20. We brought back the WRC in 2019. And I'd like to thank the Minister of Youth, Sports, working with CS Amina. She decided and gave the whole mantle to young people. So all we did was working with the old guys and all that. So later on, I came and sat at a point where I was like, even in all these things we're trying to do, like events, whatever builds itself from an existing idea to the next is what we call a concept. So that is how I sat down one day and was like, hey, why don't I go into a different space where I still can work with these people, but I can still bring an avenue of consultancy. I can still bring an aspect of data, but then thank God you mentioned data, because data is everything.
The oil.
So with that, with Gin Black, there's something I do. I usually call it foresight, insight. Like, I give you the different perspective of what you don't want to see. You see, people usually think that all they have to give is the good part of it. But there's no one who wants to be told. Like, let me give an example. Guys complain on social media like, hey, Safaricom, unakula credit yangu sana. Then something responds there with the Safaricom logo and tells you, boss, well, there's a credo. So it's just part of the data analytics that I'm still also doing in Gin Black Concepts. So it's, I would say Gin Black is a baby, but what I've had solidly was like Elite Sound. And even some of the conversations we are having about the entertainment, the events environment, all has had to do with the family that I've been with at Elite Sounds.
Oh, nice.
Interesting. For me, I'd say my journey has been a mixed match. It has been everything. It's been of tears, of laughter, of money, of being broke. So back then, when I was in, I'd say, campus, I always had a vision. The most annoying thing was this thing of youth are the future of tomorrow, yet this tomorrow is there, and I'm wondering, I'm a youth, Kwani, what do you mean? And at that time, the president and the former president and the current president were running, and they were calling themselves young people, and I'm wondering, then how old am I if you all are young? And so that gave me a little bit of some drive towards trying to find the easiest, simplest way of creating employment for young people. So for me, a young person is not someone who has a degree or someone who has what. I'm thinking about guys who have finished class 8 probably, because you'd be shocked. Over the past 10 years as a country, we've made a lot of effort in terms of increasing our literacy levels. But 10 years ago, many people used to get to class 8, Form 1, Form 2, and that's it. And we call them hopeless, we call them every other name. And so they just became, and we're not talking about only the rural areas, even in urban areas. So for me, that was my target audience, and just to figure out how to sort them out and help them, and just courtesy of going online, talking to people, engaging a lot with guys from different industries and different countries. I realized there's something called data entry, and there's something called what guys are currently doing called online work. So we formed Afridata with a friend of mine, with a few colleagues of mine, and so we started doing cold emailing and cold calling. And the funniest thing is that we're cold emailing and cold calling guys in the US.
Wow. Really? Not
locally. No. We thought ahead. So we started doing that. God was gracious enough. We ended up, someone came back to us. Funny enough, it was a Kenyan who had certain specific tasks, which is so easy. It's just about looking at some names and typing them out. Just simple back-end things that for them are very time-consuming. But for me, it was perfect. And so that's how we all started. And so we created the model where all you have to do is just have a computer that I'm providing and internet that I'm providing. And so at first, guys started off at my father's house. So you can imagine how pissed off he was. That he enters in his house and he's seeing so many young men and ladies in his house, all of them just on their laptops and computers. And I'm there manning them, do this, do that. I'm training them on how to do it and stuff. And we used to pay guys who work around 3 to 6 hours a day. Those days we used to pay them around 300 to 500 shillings a day. And that was crazy. I mean, because my vision about it was, how do we move this one person? Because if I empower you, that means I can empower 5 more people through you.
Yeah.
So why should I just focus on the masses? I can just ensure you are perfect and you can build your community. So it was a big plan, and so we started it off, and it ran for 3 years, 2 beautiful years of my life, and I don't regret that journey alone. That's the time I met you, Freddie. When I was doing that and ended up knowing Youth Plus, and I realized one of my strength in this life is knowing people and networking. And so I started another journey again in terms of what else can I do. So I did engineering in school, apparently. But then I've practiced it. Funny enough, I've practiced it for the first time last year during COVID.
Wow. How many years have you
don't ask. Don't ask. And of course, I quit after 1 year. So no, I practiced it and quit it.
But you said something interesting because you said you discovered what it was about you that made you or resonated with you and brought out your best strengths.
Yes.
Now, for both of you having started in uni, do you feel like what you're doing now is completely opposite to what you did in uni, or did that environment of the uni you were in, did it sort of like nurture and bring out some of these little things that led you to where you guys are?
Sure, like now you see, actually, I've just remembered, I think I was supposed in 3 words. I usually I work with it in my arm. Mine is moments, memories, and happiness, because it's not just about being in uni. I remember, I usually don't want to say that it's much of my background, but I give credit to the support system that I had. But I've always been this curious kid since I was a small boy and everything. So what happened was, even when I was going to uni, imagine I'm going to uni where by the time I'm texting guys back at home, I'm telling them that 2 chapos and beans, that is at Catholic University, is 250 bob. They're telling me, wait. So if I send a please call me on, I'm sending 500 bob on Monday, Tuesday, I send a please call me back home. You even feel like you're nagging guys back at home. So what started happening for me is I remember even I would do term papers for guys and everything. Someone pays me and stuff. Then I started realizing, so there's something if I do on my own, then I can make some small money. Then there was a flip side to it. When I was in uni, I got to uni when I was even playing for the national team. I was a hockey player.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, back in 2010.
You don't look like one.
My first thought would have been
rugby.
Yeah. Even right now, if my coach, shout out to him, say, "Gay would see me right now," I'd be like, "You're a joker," because I would say I was one of the biggest talents at that time, and I would wish maybe if I was given another opportunity, I would go back and teach guys how we used to play hockey at that time. So what happened was, I can remember, majority of us who experienced what we went through at that time started feeling differently. We play for Kenya. We make it up to number 3. That is the Olympic qualifier. You come back to get. We're only given, I think, 9 Gs. So I remember me and a couple of my friends were like us. That's how I ended up landing at UNESCO, because UNESCO guys were like, "Man, you're complaining. They're like, what's wrong?" I told them, man, there's something wrong here. Because you see, in your head also, you're like, until you graduate is when you get a job. And who says when you get that job, things are gonna be bread and butter for you?
It's not gonna
Yeah, because there was already that part you're looking at it. Either you get lucky, you get a job. Then there's that person who he decides and he does something different. A good example is like there's this chick I know when I was still in Risambu. She graduated from SIU, and funny thing, the dad had like a very huge farm of avocados. So we were staying on the 4th floor. She traveled for 2 months. We didn't see her for 2 months. And she came back one day with 2 lorries.
Oh, avocados.
We didn't see avocados, but then she's like, "Okay, can you come and help me?" So when she opened the backs of those lorries, it was full of green avocados. Do you know all those avocados went into a 2-bedroom house? Full.
Yeah.
6 months later, this chick was driving. And she told me, "Anto, after doing the entire thing I did IR at USIU, I don't see myself working for someone. Let me do this. I'll get dirty with avocados. But trust me, watch this space. In 2 years, you'll see something totally different." She went into a different space. That's why I agree with you when you say, like, sometimes whatever you study, like for me, I did social sciences. The only time I practice what I've done is when I come up with something crazy. I end up getting NGOs I can work with. Like that time I mentioned to you, I was going to make solar Coca-Cola bottles with solar power in Sia Kogelo. That's how I even ended up. Thank God I met Obama's grandmother and everything. But the truth of the matter is, there's no young person right now whom you're going to tell that go to university, study medicine, you become a doctor. Do engineering, you'll have to become an engineer. No. The dynamics are very different. And you have to adjust and accept. If the going gets tough, reinvent yourself, do something different. Yeah.
And I think that fairy tale has been shattered completely.
Yeah.
No, it has, but I think I have a flip side to it. And it's a misconception that we go to school and these courses we're told to pick are there to give me my next career choice. For me, I'd say the value of university and the value of education is the other skills that I get to learn. One, first of all, the soft skills that I get to learn. If it's not for university, you wouldn't understand how to interact with people. You didn't know how people operate, how people work. I call it the house of cards game in life. I mean, you'll be sitting next to someone and this person is busy plotting your demise. Yeah. You learn those things from school and uni and how to deal with them. Yeah. Number two, just simple problem-solving skills that I believe you learn in university. He had a problem. He was making 9,000 and playing hockey and hurting himself on behalf of this country. But then he realized he needs to solve that problem immediately. Not that that problem is what really got him there, but then there are more problems that you get to solve in university. So it's how you enter that school and how you think about it. For me, it's about going there and having an open mind. It's an important stage of life, I don't refuse, but then it shouldn't be the most important element of life. It shouldn't be your deal breaker. We have quite a number of people who believe because they've not gone to university, then they'll amount to nothing. Then they can't apply for a job. I know quite a number of people, they're even afraid of sending CVs. You tell them, send me a CV. They can't send you a CV because the first thing they'll tell you, lakini sasa unajua sina degree, sina nini. I'll tell you this for a fact and without fear of contradiction. Part of my roller coaster is that I ended up being a consultant with USAID.
Just casually slipping that in.
And I'll tell you for free, quite a number of people in those rooms that you meet, all they have perfected in is their soft skills. Because Freddie, I cannot teach you soft skills. I can teach you to be an accountant. I can teach you to be anything, but I won't teach you to wake up at 6 a.m. Yeah. I will not teach you to be honest and diligent. I will not teach you...
Even the confidence.
To be confident. I will not teach you that. What I'll teach you is, this is how you run numbers. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. So for me, it's learn the soft skills in whichever school you are. If you get the opportunity to learn them in a university, do it. If you get to learn it in the school of life, do it. But learn soft skills. Because for me, I'm not I always tell people I'm not the smartest person in any room. I'm not the most brilliant. I might know one or two people who help me out. But what helps me is my soft skills. Where I am today is because of my soft skills. Yeah. Nothing more. There's nothing I have tangible to show that I'm brilliant or good or I deserve it. Yeah. Just my soft skills.
And that self-belief is important because it's the make or break, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like an X factor, in most platforms that I've ever gone to, even if I'm told to speak to young people, I usually say this. Just assume like you're having a conversation in a mirror. How would you convince yourself? So at the end of the day, don't limit yourself because you don't have a degree and everything. Because you see, it's only a framework that has been designed so that you can pick the best out of a pool. But I've always been in a scenario where, I'll give an example. In 2018, I went through the recruitment process of Meltwater. They were picking guys all over Africa. And funny thing happened. I remember I met guys from Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. Some of those guys, someone was just telling you point blank, bro, I haven't gone even to the uni. But if you see the way that guy is able to articulate, present himself, if you give that guy air, he'll sell air. That is confidence. So it got to a point I started realizing and asked myself, okay, he speaks from a point, he says that the last 5 years he's been under an apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is not something that is being acknowledged in Kenya per se. We are more into, you go through the normal process, you go through internship, then either you get a summa cum laude, anything, or use the next open door, you get inside. Do you understand? Yeah. So you find that at the end of the day, the environment is not enabling for everyone. It's like either you make it, or if that place doesn't work for you, go and look for a different place. And that's why sometimes I've always said that if you find your friend who has gone to the US, driving an Uber, driving a truck, but he's able to build his mother a very beautiful house back at home, but he left Kenya with a grade A. What happened over there? He found himself, the best I can do is drive a truck, and I'm still able to support my family. Can you look down upon this person? You can't. But you find that in Kenya, you want to force yourself to wear a suit.
So every day.
Kill yourself with a tie every day. But you're not happy in what you're doing. And maybe that's something maybe later on we'll come and discuss, because you find that what you're forcing yourself to do, because you went through uni and you studied this, ends up frustrating you, and you don't bring out the best in yourself.
Well, that was bringing me to the next thing, because like you were saying, Ian, this journey of entrepreneurship, it's not the expressway. This thing is hills and valleys, ups and downs. You'll be tossed and turned until you ask yourself, who am I and what am I doing here? What is it that you guys, because I'm sure there's hard times. We all go through hard times. Now multiply those hard times when you're an entrepreneur. What's that one thing, or maybe more than one thing, that keeps you guys going during those difficulties of, I say, mshahara, I don't know if I'll make. Not even that, rent for the office.
Rent for the office, or rent where you stay.
Wi-Fi, water, electricity. And this time the landlord is calling you. It's like, hey boss, because the landlord doesn't want to know. This month's chapa sales.
COVID ended.
Especially during COVID.
I think Tony mentioned two interesting things. And for me, I'm a massive advocate for those things. And one, it is a respect. I need do something, pick something that you can wake up at 4 a.m. over and not really feel like you're hurting yourself. For me, what keeps me going and what has always kept me going is that I tend to love what I do. That's simple. That is enough drive, because you could leave alone this whole idea of I know one day things will be brighter and blah blah blah. Those things, one day things will be brighter, but until they get brighter. But the fact that I do something I love, for me, it's the networking aspect, it's the helping out aspect, it's the creating of new concepts, new ideas, new products. Because I still believe Africa hasn't even touched the surface in terms of what we can do.
I agree, yeah.
So if I can help others, or if I can be the one to identify these products, identify these services, and move Africa to the next level, then that will wake me up at 4 a.m. in the morning. Instead of having this kiosk and not really a kiosk, running this startup, and I'm running it because a friend of mine called me and told me there's something called Youth Plus. Sorry for using Youth Plus. There's something called Youth Plus. See, we try it, but the first event we do, we make some tunes, and I'm there like, I'm in this. And then next thing you know, the next 2 events flop and whatever. So one, it's about just doing what you love and being happy about it. But then the second thing, and thank you for mentioning it, it's the aspect of mentorship. Having the right people around you, not the right people around you in terms of the people who work with you, but the people who overshadow you, who overlook over you. They're your godfathers for that, if lack of better words. They will give you strong words of wisdom, sometimes not words you want to hear. Because there's sometimes there are things we go there with kiburi in our brains that this thing will work. And we all know very well this thing will not work. In fact, my mentor always tells me the simplest things make the most money. If money is your objective. Because also we need to appreciate the fact that not everyone is in entrepreneurship for money.
Yeah.
Others are there for the social change and everything else. But for me, he told me the simplest things are there for money. Please note, I have spent 2 weeks trying to look for this guy, sir, to shoot this idea that I've shot to my people and my staff, and everybody's there like, bruh, this is the next thing. And I talked to him in 5 minutes, and he's already shut me down. And I need to be in a position where I can absorb that and tell myself, fine. So it's not being surrounded by yes men, but being surrounded by strong mentors, good, powerful mentors, people who you believe in, people who are out there to ensure you succeed. Not because it will make them anything else, but because they will feel proud over it. Okay, so for me, those are 2 things that have kept me going all this time. Just that.
And you mentioned something interesting, because mentorship really is a two-way street. It's not just your mentor giving you what it is that you're looking for. He's giving you value based on his experiences, and as the mentee or the one being mentored, you have to be able to receive.
Yes, you need shock
a lot of
absorbers.
the times, it won't be anything you want to hear, by the way.
90% of the time.
And you know, like in most cases, I've always told guys, having been, like I tell people every day, who I am today. This is a product of other people's input.
True.
That is my mentors. That is the environment that I was able to work with in, whether good or bad. Because remember, being thrown into a problem, like a problem environment. Sometimes mentors would do it deliberately. Like I remember. There's a time I was doing a project called International Public Sector Organization Development but it was about training local leaders, county assembly governors. We take them all the way to Dubai and stuff. And I was working under one of my mentors. She's called Christina Njoka. And this will bring me to where we're talking about the experience of entrepreneurship journey. And I remember in the times when, that is the time I knew the good and bad of cold calls and emails. Because, yes, here I am. We've been given this training module and everything. You're told to market it. Next thing, you're given a database. Eh? So you can imagine you're calling a speaker of the county assembly. That guy is like 50-something. You hear, you're like, I think at that time I was 25 or something. And then the person, you really want to make this person believe that there's a reason as to why you want to take him out of Kenya and go and tell him that because we're in a space where we have devolution, this is an environment that has practiced devolution, and you need to believe that after 5 days of training, where I'm with you in Kenya is taking you over there and everything. So one of the things that happened was, when I was brought on board as a project manager, we weren't making money initially. That time I wasn't even believing in myself. And imagine my mentor is someone who can pick her own phone call and call that person and tell that person, because they are of the same caliber, worked in the same top government institutions. So I remember a couple of times I failed. After failing, then one day something funny happened. I just decided and I told myself, there's no way I'm going to get paid. I've not made money and everything. So I started reinventing how I'm conversing. I started looking at time frames. I'm imagining this guy, when he goes to office at this particular time, only wants to do is to read a newspaper, everything. Now, if you want to get such kind of people, CEOs, where do you go and find them? Freddie, let me tell you, you are a CEO. But credit to you, there's that level you'll never get to in life where you're a CEO. The only way I can find you is I either come and play golf with you while you're playing golf, or I look for places, social gatherings that suit you. That is where you go and be. So I was like, okay, now how do we do this? And I said, okay, fine. My mentor is not willing to give me the answer to this, but she knows what needs to be done. So at one time, I decided, okay, I used to go for meetings on foot. So I told her, can I borrow your car today? She's like, what are you going? I told her I want to go and meet someone. So I borrowed her car, a Mercedes. I went for the meeting. Already, the fact that I drove in with this car made us it gave confidence to the other guy. But you remember my mentor was just looking at me, he's like, okay, what are you up to this time? And I remember one day I came home, I came to the office, then I went to home, and then I saw an email, an approval. I'd been given almost a whole county assembly to take to Dubai.
Wow.
I was like, I saw the zeros, I was like, wait a minute. So this thing is all about how you scale and you package yourself. So it's just the same thing, whether you're an entrepreneur or a youth who is working in any working environment. There are times when you'll find yourself, things are not moving. And entrepreneurship, I usually call it, it's like a plateau zone. This is a time where you find yourself, either you take a half time or you get what we call a breaking point. Breaking point is what got me to Renee. And I remember she sat down, interviewed me and told me, Tony, do you know one thing? At the end of the day, you're the engine that runs everything you want to do. Because when you become an entrepreneur, there are usually two things that happen. You become the source and the process. So you find yourself wanting to employ people. Now, the moment you want to give up, what does that mean?
You've given up on everyone.
You've given up on everyone.
Yeah.
So the pressure sometimes is usually crazy. It can even get you to like things like psychological processes of depression. You're here, you're like, okay, I came up with this crazy thing. Maybe the process that funding is supposed to, because you'll find that now those are the elements. These guys have told you we're going to give you funding in 10 months. Maybe they give you a probation period. Your project is still under evaluation. You're thinking about it. Again, you have the excitement. You're like, this thing is worth 100 million shillings. You also have the confidence. You want to establish offices. You want to give people contracts. Again, there's that fear. Okay, what if this thing doesn't go through? Will I run away from these people? So there are always those two phases of the origin, halftime, breaking point. But key thing, this is what I'll tell any person. The moment you wake up one morning and decide that you want to become an entrepreneur, or you want to become your own breadwinner, let me use that word. Because when you use the word entrepreneur, sometimes you see this person invented this thing. I usually say when you use the term breadwinner, it means the moment you walked out of that door in the morning, you're not going to come back home empty-handed. The people are relying on you. The same way you give employment to people, there's the client. You came up with a solution. You don't wake up one morning and start telling people that you can no longer do this thing. That is not entrepreneurship. Yeah, so it's a very, like you said, it's a very interesting thing. Until you step your foot into it, you'll never know what entrepreneurship is.
You have to be in the
No, it
past.
seems fun.
Yes.
It seems easy.
And you see,
It's been glamorized.
and you see, I've always had this argument that even those who are successful, like Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, even here in Kenya, guys who have invented crazy things, none will ever come and tell you, like, this is the blueprint of what I went through. Even that moment he was in his most darkest point, he will never tell you that experience. He'll only tell you, I worked hard, I was persistent, then things came. I usually wish someone can just sit me down and tell me, this thing happened on this side. But okay, maybe there's that part someone doesn't want to discourage you. But personally, the fact that I can say I've gone through it, I'm not afraid to speak about it. Yes.
Tony, you're lucky you're in the right platform. You're in the right platform. Now you can tell everyone about it. Don't tell them. If guys, I don't know how you're going to do this and get your feedbacks, but guys, you can ask him questions. He won't lie to you. He'll tell you the truth.
You know, it's funny though, because you see, I've never been to forums where then you look at someone and you're like, man, this guy is on Forbes. This guy is doing all these things, and you're like, there's a part these guys are not saying. So I go to YouTube, I start looking at it. There's also someone who has just found himself. Let me go and create content on what happened, the parts that they don't want to say
People
about
don't talk
this
about.
before. This guy disappeared for 5 years, then he came back. And did this.
It's
Like
true.
at the time I was watching, and then I'm seeing Ati Zuckerberg used to be a workaholic. So even the whole character of him wearing t-shirts came out of the fact that he would spend 90% of time working. So you need something easy. Remove the t-shirt into another t-shirt. There's no time you'll ever hear them talking that he did a presentation in a suit. So that's what I'd like to see. Same thing on my side. I never want to give entrepreneurship the glamour that is not there. Because when someone gets into it and then they realize the waters are very murky, how do you even move forward? How do you give up, then wake up? Because I'll not cheat you. People give up and wake up. There's that phase where either your head goes like this, and then someone taps you and tells you, no, Tony, hey, but we're still going. You get it? Yeah. So those things are there, and we just have to accept it.
But Tony, also in the same element of mentioning about giving up, is there any wrong or any harm in giving up?
That one, no, I can never answer. And this is something that happened to me personally. I think there are people, if you are to ask them about me, they'll tell you, that guy has done everything. Me, I think I've done everything. I've painted houses, I've done rooftops with gypsum, I've taught. There's this old guy I met. And funny thing he told me one time, he was like, Tony, there's a bridge. Whoever created a bridge invented a bridge because he wanted to create a solution of crossing from this side to the other side. Then he told me, in life there are also bridges. Education is a bridge. Family is a bridge. Even marriage itself is a bridge. And he told me, if you find yourself not able to cross that bridge, remember the other bridges you'll never be able to solve family problems when you're poor. Let me put it that way, technically. The only solutions that will come on this side, when you go to school, do this, get a certain skill, let me not say education, acquire
skills, yes.
Use that skill to make something, then you'll come back and solve this. That means when you come back to solve this problem, you're crossing that bridge. I looked at that old man and I was like, what do you mean? And he was telling me, you're bombarding yourself with things that are not going to help you. Do this. List everything that is positive, the negative. Now, look at what is positive that you can use to solve the negative. Go to school, you'll do this. Do this, you'll get this. At first, it didn't make sense. Until later on, I know nowadays sometimes...
How many jobs later?
Which I'm not going to lie. The jobs I've quit. There's a reason why you asked that question.
I know.
I've been in an environment where I'm not going to lie. Like, I wasn't feeling complete. Yes.
You're not feeling that sense of fulfillment.
And let me tell you now, the problem is, in most cases, there are no HR departments don't give you the leverage of that. You can just walk into the CEO's office or the HR's office and tell them, I'm not happy. You came and asked for the job. Maybe something is just happening.
No. You said you can work under pressure.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
That phrase, we need to have a separate show on that phrase alone.
So you get this point where they really want to get the best out of you, but it's not coming. You're having a mind block. On this other hand, you can't go back home and tell guys, I want to quit. Either you're the breadwinner, you're the first boy. You know, the guys are looking after
You have
you.
responsibilities, expectations.
Maybe let me be a devil's advocate. Freddie, you want to tell us that you would have woken up one morning and tell us that after doing one edition of Masterclass Youth Plus and things didn't go the way you wanted, maybe only 2 people registered, you're going to say you're not going to do another?
No, you can't afford to.
But there's that moment you go and hold yourself in the shower. You pray so hard and you tell yourself.
No, Freddie disappeared. Me, this is the first time I'm hearing. Freddie went to the shower. I can tell you that for free. He disappeared.
So you usually see in Lukiamta, unaenda unanawa kidogo, unajiosha, you come back.
Unaoga unarudi soko.
Unarudi soko. Entrepreneurship has that phase. Unaenda unaoga, unarudi soko, which in other times you rebrand, you reinvent yourself. And I say there's no shame in, you know, there's quitting and letting go.
True.
But there's no shame in quitting and saying, I live to fight
another day.
Yeah.
Because this thing is a battle, by the way.
It is.
As much as my shower took 5 years, it's a battle. So recuperating, even just, I think, mentally more than anything, is the biggest negative cost of entrepreneurship.
True. And sometimes it's deadly.
Yeah, because the other day I was thinking to myself about failure, because it's never been one thing to scare me or to get me to not do something.
Yeah, you're lucky you're not a firstborn.
By the way, very
Firstborns are afraid of failure. The whole family is there.
And something came to mind. It was like, failing the second time is as scary as it is, because second time around, it's not about whether or not you can do something. It's about whether or not you can learn from the first time.
True.
And that learning is so personal. Like you have to look at yourself very bluntly, very openly, and very honestly, and ask yourself, if I did make mistakes before, made the wrong steps, the wrong moves, pissed off my landlord because he didn't get his rent for a couple of months, maybe even more, are you ready to accept that, first of all, hapa nilikosea? And then secondly, these hard truths that our mentors tell us, and even our peers, these hard truths, are we mature enough, brave enough, maybe even, to accept these lessons from failure?
And you know, there's a transcendency that usually comes with it. Bluntly, someone will tell you, like, even may use the same phrase. You tell someone, like, when you get to that platform, you're going to change. You know, someone is telling you'll become an entrepreneur, money start comes in, you change. But sometimes you find it's change that is worth the survival of the business. You stop becoming the yes man, the people's person. People feel like maybe you're a little bit strict and rigid in terms of the decisions you make. And in the whole cycle of entrepreneurship, sometimes you're not working alone. Because there are usually 2 things here. When you give an output in terms of either the product, the service you give, you expect a feedback. If your customers are also not genuine with you, sustainability will not be efficient over here. Because it gets to a point, someone comes with a better product than you, people put you out of the market. But it's just because people are not able to tell you the truth. And that's where now Afridata comes in. If he's able to go and get that data analytics and tell you're an entrepreneur, you don't want to be told the truth. But what if I come with real data from clients and come and tell you, like, people are feeling this way about your product. Can you either improve or do something different? Maybe it's because you see, even the other thing I came to discover when I was doing my course, social sciences, some of the solutions we come up with, it's just part of creating an infrastructure that leads to development now. But it doesn't mean that the solutions are provided is what people necessarily needed. Like right now, we are facing certain problems. If you come up with floating vehicles, you're still not providing a solution. Because when they run on the road or I float in the air, I still use fuel. So there's nothing you've done over here. But if you can come up with ways that people can feel, okay, fine, whatever we are doing can again support the government, have more money, revenues, we reduce the inflation rates and everything. You know, you're helping everybody over here. Same thing, it comes back to, I usually call it the analogy of an entrepreneur. There's the internal and and the external process. When your internal process is messed up, no matter what happens on the external environment, there's nothing much you can achieve. That means you can even have a shutdown. Have you ever been there? Because you find that things have happened crazy, you're overwhelmed and everything, you're trying to look at it, you're like, okay, can you even go and talk to your people and tell them, okay, fine, I'm already doing a forecast, I'm seeing the next 2 months, there's no money coming in. Will these people accept it? Again, you mentioned something. Does failing the second time mean you cannot move forward?
No.
That's why I started my own thing. I have a movement called God Got Me. Even I wear t-shirts. Today, unfortunately, I didn't wear. It got to a point I started asking myself now, when things get hard, who is the only person who usually has my back? God. Now, next thing, guys have been asking me for my t-shirts. Like, can you get me a 6-year-old? I'm like, okay. So they're like, yeah, there's something about it. God got me. Because there's that time where it's for the best of success, God had you. In your worst moment, he's the only person who had you. So I would always wear jean black, but somewhere here, I have God got me. That's the only thing that now keeps me driving. But now maybe I'll ask you now, because you failed the second time, did you stop?
No. And it's impossible. And you know, it's a very, very skinny, very thin line between being passionate about an idea and being obsessed with it. Treading that line has been very, very dangerous, very risky. But it's a passionate thing. There's even during those 5 years, there's days I'd wake up and be like, this Youth Plus thing, how are we gonna do it for it to work? And 5 years later, we are finding ourselves here. But no, for me, failure is never a destination. It's part of the process.
It's part of the
process. It's a catalyst.
Yeah, it is.
It's a catalyst.
But then I'd say, so two things. One, and Freddie, congratulations for saying 5 years. Me, I thought it was longer. But I think something else, and probably this will help everybody who's at their thinking process and stuff, is that the wheel was already created a long time ago. When whoever came up with that statement, you can never reinvent the wheel, knew what he was talking about. There is nothing anybody in this table has created anew. There's nothing Zuckerberg created anew. Before Facebook, you had MySpace and all these other crazy other things. The difference is who executed it well. Not about who did it first. You know, we always, this guy will launch this t-shirt before me, but then he does a mediocre job, then you do a better job. God got me, he did one saying picky ponky and stuff, you get. So it's not about always creating, because as entrepreneurs, we are so used to, there's a new product, there's this new idea, there's this. No, it's about how well you refine something that already exists. In your thought process of how to, and what is Youth Plus and everything, you are trying to look for the best way to reinvent Youth Plus, but not reinvent by not creating a new wheel. You're just reinventing this space, because this space already exists. You are already a leader in this space, whether you like it or not. You already impacted people and everything. So for me, keywords from what he said, and thank you so much for sharing, is one, the wheel was already created. All you need to do is be the best one, put the rims on it, put the color on it, do everything, but the wheel will always go around. There's no day we'll have a triangle wheel. Okay, the ideas have already been done. Number two, it's about reinventing yourself, and that's what we have. Every successful person has more or less perfected it. The Zuckerbergs, everybody we mentioned, it's always about reinventing yourself. Peter Ndwati, one of the first guys you brought during Youth Plus, shared with us as to how he failed at his, first of all, he went to Punjab University with Waititu and got into insurance and failed and all that. And how did Resolution Health start? I mean, that journey for me, it had an incredible story. It had nothing to do with creating a new insurance company, but just refining it and doing it the best way possible. He identified nobody is covering HIV patients and pregnant mothers as a major thing, and that was it.
And actually, his resolution are going through something right now. Only pray, because actually, even me, I'm one of the victims to it. I know he's someone he'll find a way of inventing.
No, he will.
There's just as you touched on that, there's something that has hit me. You know, this whole entrepreneurship space also, and as we also, I don't usually like. I like putting a balance to every aspect. We get to work with mentors, and one of the things that got me to where I am is the fact that sometimes you come fresh raw, you have that honest of waking up in the morning and making your mentor very happy. You get a new idea today, you get so excited. Even if it's 2 a.m., you just feel like, let me just call my mentor and tell my mentor, like, I have this idea. Then there's that moment when you're very naive. I really want to speak strongly about this part, because when we ended up coming up with the project through Capital FM and the likes of Chow and Muba, Bonga, when we were doing Bonga, we started realizing that majority of people were suffering from mental processes out of having worked under mentors and being in that space of entrepreneurship was where you feel used and abused.
True.
So I started asking myself now, how do we solve this? Because there's that part where someone feels, okay, you've given your all, 5 years, 10 years. It's like you've been doing so much, but your mentor doesn't want people to get to you, or there's let me just put it in black and white. There's a point mentors stop become mentors, and they start becoming villains to you. In fact, it's like they even worsen you to a point. By the time your family or someone else realizes how we can pull you out of this, you're totally destroyed. You're gone. So in most cases, I'll even say it. I've been there. And I think, Freddie, there's a time I even mentioned this to you. I didn't leave Kenya to go and work in Dubai just because I wanted to. I was so frustrated that I looked at everything. I was like, God, I've given so much. I got auctioned. My mentor didn't want to even pick my calls and know what I'm going through, whether I'm eating or not eating. But then I'm looking at like what I've done so much over here. Then it got to a point I was like, I can't sit here anymore. Then I left. I get over there. I used to go for interviews. I walk in, a CEO tells me, because you know that the things are different. Someone is telling you like, young man, can I just be very honest with you? You're better off in your country than me. You sit down and ask yourself, wait, what are you telling me? I paid a flight ticket, paid for my visa, I came here to look for a job. Are you busy telling me I'm better off in my country than here? Second interview you go, the guy is like, Anthony, why do you really need this job? You're like, I did the job because I need to take care of my family. The guy is like, no. All those things you're telling me, they look very common. Why are you really here? Until you got to a point, it's like everything was echoing. You're not supposed to be here. Go back and make your country better. Now, that's why I started asking myself now, how do we, if not me, help people who come out of that zone? I usually call it this zone of, you feel like the energy, the spark is crazy, it can light a bush. Then you go to someone who, at that time, he didn't have anything. He's an entrepreneur. He's at that plateau zone. He gets this thing, is like, this is now the spark I need to take me there. He takes you, you're naive, you don't know how the whole thing happens. By the time you're realizing that everything has been siphoned out of you, and then the reality hits you, I'm telling you, I'm sorry to say, I've seen young people even take away their own lives. Because some of them have even happened in the processes we have. You wake up one morning, you're like, I can go register, have my company, Agpo. You go, you get a tender. County government tells you, you can supply this and this. You go borrow money from the bank everywhere. You even owe your landlord money. Next time, you're in debt worth millions. Why do you just feel like hiding everything? There's a case of someone, we were talking about it last week when I was in Kisumu. A young guy who committed suicide. He's called Steve Audi. Audi committed suicide because he was in so much debt. Not debt because he did something wrong. Debt because he provided a solution but wasn't paid. Same thing. I know of guys who, you create something crazy, you get over there, you feel like people milk the idea out of you. So the times I sit down and I say, as much as we really want to champion entrepreneurship, the dark sides of entrepreneurship
are really dark.
They're really dark, very, very dark, and it takes you to have a lot of self-belief, a good support system, and just know the moment you like you said, you woke up one morning and said this is what you want to do, you have to have the faith of finishing that thing, because even this, I call them sharks, mwewe. The mwewes don't want to be beaten. Yeah. He'll do the best. Yeah, he'll uplift you kidogo, but the moment he realizes you're going to beat him at the game, they start stepping on you.
You go back to take you, but I think you've mentioned something, and that definitions, Freddie, please, we need to have a conversation about mentorship, as well as having a conversation as to how we define a mentor, because what he said, every entrepreneur will go through it. For me, I'll just put some things out. First of all, some mentors will use you as their think tank, as you said. Others are not really mentors. Not every mentor is rich. Let's first of all. We normally assume mentors are rich people.
But
not every mentor is rich. There's some mentors who this guy is just a brilliant, how he thinks, how he operates, how he does what, and he's happy at his pace and everything. Number 3 mentors who I'm afraid of, family. Okay, because you have this rich uncle, so he's the chums of the family. So now he becomes a mentor because one, he has no other option. You hang out with him a lot, but also
those for need to make CV.
Those ones for need to make CV. Then he's so there's a way mentors really can make or break you, and it's up to you to bring us next time so that we tell you about our mentorship stories. But I want to be the good guy now and talk about the successes of entrepreneurship. I think we have demonized it enough, but not really demonized it. We've really just said the truth. The harsh realities from guys who we're not yet there. We're not yet in magazines or newspapers or what. We are walking the journey with you and everybody else. So we've seen it. At least we have enough. More than 10-year experience is, I think, enough experience for you to be able to talk about something authoritatively. But I believe there are also successes that we have experienced in entrepreneurship. But before we even go to the successes, there's the element of being successful today and replicating what you did yesterday and replicating that same model and that same thing and it not working tomorrow. And you realizing, is it me? Am I a failure? What has... Because let's be honest, there's some things that Zubatisha at once.
Yeah.
So there's an idea, a product, a service that just has that one bullet in the chamber.
Right thing, right time.
Right thing. Everything was aligned with the gods on your side that day.
This was it.
And that was it. But then you try and replicate it and it fails. And you replicate it 7 times and you realize those 7 times that you're trying to duplicate the same thing, you're digging yourself deeper into a hole. You can do one event and make half a mic, but then you do 7 more that put you in debt in 7 mic. Yeah. So that all you'd be talking about is, siku zangu. And I'll talk to a master entrepreneur here and ask him, tell us about those successes that were one bullet in the chamber and how we probably get out of them. Because for me, first thing I did is that I disappeared.
After your 1 bullet?
No, I hit my 1 bullet, it failed 2 times. First of all, I disappeared off the grid completely. And I had to ask myself, and I went back to my basics, reinventing myself, understanding how the wheel works, how the wheel operates, and finding maybe all I need to do this time is kuongeza tu pumzi kwa hii wheel. So not to go all out and try to make it triangle. But then at what point do you realize that this was your own, this was it? You run with it. If you didn't hack it very well, maybe you were supposed to make more than it. You were supposed to make 2 mic and you made half a mic saying there's a next time. And this also goes back to, how we normally told, if you want to do something, do it right the first time. Don't expect a good second time or a third time or a fourth time. At next time was it. Next time mutati.
It's kind of crazy. Like I like the analogy that is bringing, because And thank you very much for bringing us back to where we also have to celebrate the successes of being in this space of entrepreneurship. Personally, like for me, I usually say first thing would be someone like my late mother. I thank God by the time she was passing away, I had already bought her land. Nice. I also managed to build during the period that she was being buried, permanent house and everything. So right now, if anything happens to me and my siblings, we have a place to go to. But out of this also, I usually tell people that there are people when I sit with it, they'll say, Anthony was a very brilliant guy in high school, primary. But how did he end up being this guy who is always just in an overall? I like wearing overalls when I'm busy working. I don't like that space of where I'm told to build a stage, a concert. So this has always been my analogy. I tell people events is like any other career. It's a science, it's an art. And when you're holding that spanner where you're serving a client, you're doing a profession similar to what someone who's at the bank is doing. So that means the fact that you're able to get an earning out of it, that satisfaction in itself makes you have a self of belief that there's a reason why I woke up in the morning and you are a professional, not a skilled laborer. Yes. So if someone asks you, Mwambie, I'm an engineer. Yeah, call yourself an engineer. Have that conviction. You're an engineer. If you feel like whatever you did, even if it was an idea, you did a consulting, you consulted for someone, you gave someone, so call yourself a consultant. So there are those aspects where you realize that in entrepreneurship, your success comes from not your own self. If you're able to give credit to the people you work with, then that bullet will always go through. But if you want to become your own main man and everything, let me tell you, that first bullet will go through. Either you make it or guys will leave you hanging over there, because what will happen is the guys will maximize on the wrong you've done. They go build on the positive. Next time you're looking at it, they already ran away with the idea.
True.
So I like to look at a space whereby if both of us, just as he did as you, we're able to first of all acknowledge that we're entrepreneurs because we found how to place ourselves in this business environment. First thing, yes. How are we able to survive? We come back to what he was mentioning. Do we create those networks that allow us to be able, because you see, if you keep looking at this thing as competition, then it gets to a point whereby you realize that you cannot even create liaison with your next person. Because remember, even when you're applying for tenders or something, there are people who tell you that you can come and apply for this job as a joint venture. But how many of us are usually willing to front from day one, like yo, Shikani, we do this job.
Utaniosha Buddha.
Yeah, someone. First thing people start looking at the negative. Are you getting? This guy ataniosha. Or what if this guy decides to go and play a deal or 1, 2, 3? You get it. So I've always wished that we can have those synergies that allow us. That the same way I look at events management passionately. Yes, it's not what I do entirely. There are times you'll find me where I'm busy working with tech guys, thinking of softwares and everything. And that is the time I realize, these tech people are also very technical. I look at it and I'm like, there's someone who spends 12 hours on a laptop. You're wondering what he's doing.
And you see a blank screen.
You see a blank screen. You're seeing numbers and codes and you're like, what is this guy doing? And you know. But the moment it's done and then he gives it to you, you look at it, you're like, wow. Oh, you have a product now. Now, what do? You're the one who has the people's keys. You're the one who knows to go try and talk to the client. You don't sell it. Are you seeing what is happening? This guy is a coder. He doesn't know how to talk. He only talks on the laptop. He's a keyboard warrior. He gives you the product. What do? You take it, you go in. So you see, me and this guy, when we work together as a team, we're able to make money.
Product, yes.
So today I can say I'm starting to learn there's a new science to entrepreneurship. We shouldn't just think of entrepreneurship as you, the one on paper, as the business owner. But what is it that you're able to do as the person who's at the apex?
True.
That influences everyone who's in the environment. That at the end of the day, an earning comes on board. Because if we do that, then we'll start also creating a certain wave that will make people realize that if employers cannot give us opportunities, then we can start doing things on our own.
True.
We create those things on our own. Yeah.
And it's the question of, do I want to be a one-man guitar or do I want to be
Mugithi.
Each and every day. And Freddie, you're the one person who benefited the most from this thing.
From which thing?
The first time I joined, when you know me, I don't even know how I got to know Youth Plus till today. It shocks me. I think I was online or something about it. But your ability to bring along that vast wealth of people at your, you're smaller, so you're smaller with that hanging coat. I think the DP's Taylor was your friend at that time. On a like note though, but then you were the real image of your network as your net worth at that time for me. I couldn't understand how this young man could bring all these top executives into a room for 2 hours. These guys are leaving their jobs to come. There's no amount of money Freddie will pay them that these people will. These are guys earning some serious money, but then they're coming, spending 2-3 hours with some guys, some young people who Freddie has harassed from 4Gs and is serving us very good lunch and tea. And I used to think this guy is really, really undercharging us, but I'm a Kenyan. When you get a good deal, who cares? But from that, I got to understand the value of networking. And for me, I'm personally where I am because of the people who I associate with. It has less to do with yes men and more to do with people of value and the synergies that you want to create, the not being selfish, not being. It's for me. Trust me, networking is on another level.
Yeah, but you see also if maybe let's say if I was to ask this whole and like when you say your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Because you see, sometimes I've always said you can have every person on your phone.
But how many of them will pick up a phone?
How many of them will pick your phone call? Or how many of them will you come and pitch an idea to them and then they're like, okay, fine, this is something worth investing in. This is something what we can do something in it.
It's about value.
Yeah, as much as it's about value, I've always asked myself that question.
Because for me, how I ended up, it's about the first impression I had with this specific individual.
Yeah.
And that impression needs to be a lasting one. When you give me one chance to sit down with James Mori or James Mwangi or someone of that caliber, I need to be able to have the right language and the right things for them to want to know more and to hear more from me. So it's about how they perceive me in terms of value. There are people who will call you who you won't pick up. Okay, right now we're talking about the James Mwangis and the whatevers, but to some people, you are the James Mwangi.
Yeah.
Okay, and you won't pick up their calls. So there's one of them calling you now that you're not picking. And you won't pick up the calls mainly because you do not see how the both of you you don't see the value in them. You don't see how they bring value to you. But from the first impression, if you have purely made it clear that I am here to ensure both of us benefit, and it is not a one-way issue, because everyone who's made it, me and you included, hate one-way traffic. And that's why mentors also really get annoyed with us sometimes, because it is one-way traffic. Yeah. I want to use you. I want to use your money. I want to use your network. So for them, that's why they don't pick up your calls, because they believe it is I want. But when you come and sit down and tell them, I've seen Centamid, we'll just use a random company. I've seen company X, you guys are about to launch this product. Yeah. Do you know, I think this is the best way we can launch this product. I'm an event manager, I'm an event organizer, by the way. So if we launch it this way, and this is, we'll use the same concept used with this other thing. See, that 5-minute conversation has made this guy realize, okay, I think this can be two-way. I can benefit, and he can also benefit from it. But if it is just, hi, how are you? I am an admirer of you. My God, let's take a photo. You see, he just realized these are fun. And that's it.
And you see, mentioning that it's something that at one time I was having a long argument in a panel of guys, and I was telling them that sometimes value proposition does not have to be. You see, the fact that you're able to come, you see that 5-minute conversation, you've told someone that I have this idea, this strategy, this is what you can do. it only took me 5 minutes to tell this person that this is the strategy you can use and all that. Now, there's a time I came and realized that within that whole cycle of whether you've given a service to someone, there's what we call value proposition.
True.
There are countries who pay for it. Like, if you call me to your office and you tell me, Anthony, I need to do X and X, the fact that you put me there for even 1 hour, like you see now for you, the fact that you're able to bring all these senior executives for 2 hours and they're able to speak about this to the young people, the impact that they're able to give. It's not for us today to discuss how much you are paying them, but that is value proposition.
True.
There's a reason why someone tells you, if I'm to come and stand here for 1 hour, you need to pay me 350,000. Then you go like, that is $3,500.
Why?
1 hour.
No.
What do you mean? And that person tells you, yeah, give or take. If you want me there, that's my fee.
Let me give an interesting version of it. Freddie called you. You did not even think twice. You're here.
Yes.
Freddie called me recently. I wouldn't even say which day because it will look funny and embarrassing. Okay. But if Freddie calls, we pick up. Why? The value that he gave us the first time we interacted with him. And there are people in my life, and there are people in those people's lives who they'll shut down their lives for because of them. Not because they make the money or whatever, but because they see value in you. And it does really have to be also business related. As I said, not everything is money related. I'm sorry, Kenya is a very capitalist country, but not everything has to be about money.
That's a common misconception. People think value is always monetary.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you see, the aspects where even as entrepreneurs, we're seeing it happening. As young as I am, I know other entrepreneurs who, even with the same business environment of events, we capitalize on barter. So you find that today I have an event which I'm doing, but I know very well the client is not here to pay me and I need this kind of equipment. Now, because I'm the only person who has this equipment, what happens? I know very well one day you get an opportunity. Maybe I took equipment from you. We do conversions now. Okay, how much do I owe you on this? How can we do the reducing balance to this? So that's also a strategy we are trying to use so that at the end of the day, it's not like we are building a monopolistic environment. Because you see, if you focus on you being the one-man guitar, that because you own the equipment, you're the only person you want to hog the whole environment like Kitu. So even I remember 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation and I asked someone, if I am company X and I have a concept, a strategy, my execution plans are usually on top professional. Your company B, you have equipment. You sit before a client. Is it fair when a client denies the opportunity to me, who has the ideology, just because I didn't have equipment, and they say it's a one-stop shop? It doesn't become fair. It gets to a point where this person starts feeling, okay, fine. Why did they wake up one morning, register a company? So I was telling these people that you need to create a balance. Sometimes when you know very well that this person has a strategy, why don't you do this? Find a way of making him be able to work with the person who has the equipment. There are ways those things usually can be done. Or if he comes and says, I can bring the equipment, don't start meddling and finding out how is he going to bring it. Is he going to... Maybe now, I know Mzee Nani. I know how I'll come and talk to him and I tell him, I have this event I'm doing. Can you support me with this equipment? I'll be able to pay like this and this. So you agree on whatever it is. But it doesn't become fair now if you, as a person who gave the job, again calls him and tells him, there's a guy who we've given a deal over here, but we don't feel like he'll be able to fear that maybe you know this and this. Do you know what will happen? By the time I get to him, he'll tell me no. Then what does he do? He goes and gets the job. So those are some of them. I usually sometimes when I sit down and I say, wow, this thing is crazy though. But I believe that where we're heading to, guys are waking up. Guys are like,
true.
You can't just do this thing on your own. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys, what do you see as next for you? Because we've all admitted we're all on this journey. We might be in different tangents, different means of transportation. Some of us will get there walking, others will use a bicycle, others will fly. But we're all heading towards the same direction. What does that next next step look like for you guys?
For me, let me start like in what I've majored in, which I'm passionate about. I think this is 2022. This is 12 years now professionally in events. What I really want to see happening next is, it's like, I want to challenge myself. I want to start tapping into young people and telling them, like, events is something that you can take it up as a profession. It's something that if your normal day-to-day job doesn't really work for you and you're crazy about events, you can come and do this thing and you'll still survive. Maybe you're the missing part of what you've been looking for in this environment. So, and at the same time, I'm still very passionate about community development projects. So my idea is to see how I can do what I do every day as an entrepreneur, but use it to impact the community. See how I can change lives with it. Because as much as sometimes I want to like turn my back and just focus on the entrepreneurial part, on how the business environment is just about profit and loss, there's this part that I just feel like I have a duty and a call to serve my community, whether it's through philanthropic processes, whether it's tapping into the same corporate people and coming and seeing how we can find other young, because I usually say the buck doesn't stop with me. Just the same way as I'm good at in business development and events, there are 10 other young people out there, but the only difference is we don't know how to get to them. So that is what I really, really want to do. I want to start doing different type of events that makes me tap and makes me able to work with other young guys. Yeah.
Interesting. For me, I want to really leverage on this whole global community aspect. I feel there's a lot that as a country and as young people we're not tapping into because we are fixed on this cocoon called Nairobi, or fixed on this cocoon called, I don't know, like I look at these hypes, our generation is addicted to hypes. I mean, today it's betting, tomorrow it's Forex, the day after tomorrow it's Bitcoin and the likes. It means people are desperate, people are hungry, and we're tapping into the global aspect of life, but in a very wrong way. I have no problem with those things that I've mentioned, but I do not see the sustainability of them in the long run, and I don't see the value they add to the community in the long run. But there are more effective ways if we try and challenge ourselves, if we try and look at partnerships in different markets, in different African markets, in different markets in the other worlds. Third worlds especially, developing world, countries especially, that I feel we can be able to tap in. Because the beauty about being in a developing country in the age we are right now is that we can not repeat the same mistakes first world countries made when they're at our stage. If they made mistakes in global that got us to global warming, and that's how they got to become first world countries, we can change that. We can get to become first world countries without being a mess to our environment and such. So for me, that is just looking at the whole aspect of how to globalize my city. Second of all, it's to going back to my roots, where I started, and as I mentioned, how do I create value? How do I create employment for the young people who don't have the hopeless ones? The ones who don't have the degree, the ones who don't have the certificates, the ones who even have the degrees, but are still being told you're the future for tomorrow. Okay, so for me, it's going back to that base core, and that's where my love for entrepreneurship started from, and trying to figure out the best way of doing it. And I have seen the power of youth groups. I have seen the power of how young people can come together for a common cause and how perfect it works. There's a lot of success stories, and unfortunately only NGOs have perfected writing those stories. But there's a lot of serious success stories that have come from groups, grassroots groups, of things that they're doing that are crazy and out of this world, where you hear 5 of them started doing some job over there, and out of the 5 of them, they saved enough to open a car wash for the community, and that car wash grew into a bakery, and that bakery grew into a what, and eventually that whole community, there's nobody who lacks anything. And you see, for me, if I can change the mind of a young person, trust me, I can change the mind of your mother, I can change the mind of your father, I can change the mind of your siblings. If I change all those minds, then the decisions we're making as a country will be a lot more better. So for me, it's looking at things in that way. And yeah.
And maybe just one more thing that I think I didn't mention at that particular time is I actually enjoy what is happening today. You see, one of the things I started doing previously, even when I was in Dubai, when I was in Kenya, when I was doing events, I never used to make people experience. So currently, I'm working in partnership with a group of young guys. They're called Infinity Junior. There's a young guy called Gift. There's Ian. So we are currently developing what you call artificial reality apps for events. The reason why we're doing this is we want to tell stories. We want to give people experiences. Because you see, whether I fail or I make it through an event, I want someone to have felt like they walked that journey with me. So that if we laugh, we are like, maybe the reason why that event wasn't a success was because we guys were telling you, why don't you do this? You insisted on, you get it. So the reason why we want to make it an all-inclusive journey, it's just the same thing we're doing here. We're telling stories. I came to realize that when you tell stories, you empower. True. When you tell stories, you impact. When you tell stories, you see the other side of things that you are not able to see. And that is what I want to take down even back to my village. Like, when you go back to Kisumu, where I come from, they call me a DJ. I'm not a DJ, but the fact that they usually see, sometimes I come in with DJs, like from elite DJs, we do what we do with elite sounds. I wouldn't blame that young kid who sees me as a DJ. Because there's a reason why, as much as I want to change his mindset, like, usinione kama DJ, he's so happy to see me as a DJ. He's like, you're able to do this, you can drive a car. And I'm like, okay, fine. If that's what you think, then me, there's something I'm seeing. That means there's passion I'm seeing in this kid. This kid wants to play music. This kid wants to become a DJ. So it's just the same thing. I hope some of these stories, as we continue doing what we'll do, even if I continue working on my journey as an entrepreneur, the government will listen, the people will sit back there at home, other mentors. And by the disclaimer, I'm not against mentors.
You and me both.
They're able to realize that at the end of the day, if we are able to work through this thing together, I think Kenya is going to be the biggest thing in the next couple of years. That's one thing I know.
Man, I really enjoy having you guys. I think every conversation we've had has been very, very real and very reflective. And honestly, with all the people that I've met through Youth Plus, that's the one thing I've really appreciated. There's a sense of honesty, and also, like you're saying, about sharing stories. The scariest thing about this journey of entrepreneurship is thinking that you're alone or you're going through something terrible for the first time. That fear of, who can I turn to for help? And as peers, there's so many of us who have experiences from different walks of life, different fields, both successes and failures. And just sharing these stories makes you realize, by the way, I'm not alone in this thing. People are also going through what I'm going through. So if they can make it, I can make it as well.
Now, let me ask you, who did you turn to?
Who did I turn to?
Yeah.
During failure?
Whether it was failure to
What
success.
what failure?
The 5 years I was in the shower.
We've been playing with you each and every time mentioning failure, but you didn't fail. In the eyes of everybody who experienced it, you didn't fail. Maybe your bank account failed, but you didn't fail.
Sure. But let me say, by fail, I think my vision of what I thought it achieved wasn't quite accomplished. But also at the same time, at that age, I needed to learn to temper my ambition, not decrease it too much, but just manage it within the bounds of reality and what's capable within a period of time. I turned to faith. I turned to my family. I turned to mentors, people like Peter. There's a lady who really was a true force behind those dark days and me pushing on with Youth Plus, named Anna. Turned to her as well. And also to you guys, just even if I would run into you randomly, hear what you guys are doing, I'm like, hey, we were actually helping people. We were doing something right. It was not making fiscal sense, but there was still that impact. And those small moments just make you realize. Because I think one thing that's common with all of us is that element of paying it forward and giving it back and trying to sort of inspire and empower. Those moments are
even
powerful.
that whole thing of, because I think I can even see it in you and in me. You'd want to give more than you can receive.
True.
And by the time you realize that you've given more than you can receive. But anyway, it's amazing that you say you turn to faith and the people who are around you. Like for me, mine was faith, and then I started telling myself the truth. Not just the truth of the truth, because I stopped looking at the successes of the ones I've given to people. Then I remember whenever I would ask people, the guys would just face me and tell me, Tony, do you know that the problem with you is what? You've done everything, but all those things have never been yours. For once, can you just sit down and start? Okay, and then I'm like, hey, how do you do it on your own with no money? I'm not going to cheat you. My biggest fear has been how I call it float. So the days I sit down and ask myself, okay, fine, should I shut down this idea because I don't have the money or anything? But then I go back to faith, just as you mentioned. I tell myself, okay, fine. If I have the hope and the faith and God got me, that's the same way. I woke up today in the morning and I was just excited about whatever it will be, go tell my story. And he's also happy to know that Freddie is out of the shower.
You and me both. And my God, and Freddie, please continue. One of the biggest challenges we face in Kenya and in Africa is we don't tell our own stories. There are quite a number of communities that are trying and group of people who are trying to tell the African story the African way, because there's this big misconception about Africa and entrepreneurship and M-Pesa only being the only thing that we can only produce and those kind of things. So thank you for this platform, and please continue giving us this opportunity for us to share our story and for us to tell our story our own way, for people to see it that way, and we see how the rodeo goes. I know you did not fail. You just took an interesting break. Something that now that you're all talking at what you turned to. There's a shot of adrenaline and steroids I used to give myself that I had to stop. It's this thing. I
hope you mean figuratively.
Sorry, definitely. Yeah, when you're down and when you're feeling low. So I used to go online and listen to these not prosperity ministry people, but these guys who these short clips where someone gives you boosting and motivational kind of things, and you feel good about yourself, only for you to realize tomorrow that guy is in another world and he was just telling you things to make you feel good. So once you get to a point where you tell yourself the truth, you start believing in yourself, because there's something that out of all these, and I'm really grateful you brought Tony here, is because he's taught me and he's just proven to me that entrepreneurship and life, more lives, is for those who take it. It's for the bold. It is not about what you fear, because trust me, 90% of the time I fear everything. I fear waking up in the morning because I know the fact that I open my eyes means money is leaving my pocket. I want to get to a point where I close my eyes and money is coming into my pocket. But these days I open my eyes, and that's what people don't tell you when you become an adult, is that every time you open your eyes, that is money leaving your pocket. The joke I tell myself with the people around me is that every time you leave your house, that's 1,000 bob that you have to, that somehow you spend in this economy we're living in. You just leave your house like this, it's 1,000 bob that has left. And so you have to be bold enough. You have to take it. You have to be ready to go the extra mile. And the extra mile isn't really what people think. The extra mile is just willing to tell people, I'm sorry. Willing to tell people, thank you. Willing to call the one person who you feel, uchele kona maringo mingi, but anaweza nisaidia. You see, that's boldness. Boldness is not about waking up one day and saying, I'm opening a company. Boldness is about, and men unfortunately go through this a lot, is about telling people, I need help. And entrepreneurs have to do that. You have to wake up and tell your peers people who you are busy telling people, you can be busy out here driving and whatever, kumbe gari ni alone, nini. You need to be in a position where you tell people, I need help, before you actually go down the drain and get auctioned and everything. So
and actually that's the literal aspect of what I refer to as the truth of the truth. Yeah, because you see, there's that glamour we put outside here. We're like, oh, I can do this and do that, but you literally find yourself, you're struggling. Yeah. Like I think my last 2 years, I've been finding more joy in teaching. Actually, let me use facilitating, like showing, like being able to see someone come out of, I don't usually call it the ghetto, but I call it the school of hard knocks. And then he comes and tells me, like, this guy's never gone to any journalism school, but the way he handles a camera, the way he does everything, you're like, wow. Then he is like, Anto, see, sunifunze venye, like I can even register my own company and everything. Then I sit down and I'm like, wow. So this guy wants to become an entrepreneur. But I don't feel jealous about it. My joy is, we came, we had a sit down. I've done a project with him, we even shot like a whole event. But he still calls me and is like, I'm not even supposed to pay him some small money, but he's like, fanya hivi, shikilia katao, then next week, pia tukifanya ingine, hold on another one. Then you'll show me how to register a company.
Wow.
So it already tells you that there's already something happening on the side. You as an entrepreneur.
There's effort.
That means even us as entrepreneurs, we need to realize that one day we'll stop being entrepreneurs, we become mentors.
Good ones.
Yes.
Very good ones.
Thank you.
Man, I think that's a good place to end it today. You guys have been fantastic. If you can give the guys watching your handles, either your personal ones or your business ones, to follow you, keep up with your journey and tag along where they can.
Oh, interesting.
Personally, myself, I'm a very versatile person. So if you go to, I'll start from LinkedIn. LinkedIn, you can find me as Anthony John Opondo. I handle a lot of stuff over there, from trainings to, like I mentioned, to events. My social media handles on, let's say, Facebook, Instagram, I am Tony. That's it is. I_am_Tony. And I think it's been nice. These conversations are still going to continue. If you find me on social media, I'm still going to be talking about how we want to impact the young people, and give a big shout out to Youth Plus Radio. Thank you, Freddie. I hope to see more of this. And my brother over here, Afridata, it's been amazing chatting with you. So I'm also going to make sure I look for your social media and follow you as well.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, thank you, Freddie. Thanks for this opportunity. I mean, it's been a long time coming. It's interesting. You started off alone with a small team, and now you can literally call people who you started the journey with as your clients, as your brothers and as your friends, to come and pilot this with you. So great thanks to you. Thank you for the resilience. We keep on cheering you on. I always tell you, when you run for president, I'll be your chief of staff. But yes, Youth Plus made an impact to me. We are still the youth, but I think there's that age group where you're between 18 and 25 who really lead Youth Plus, and I think this is the right platform for them, especially as they start their entrepreneurship journey. So thank you very much. On social media, I'm on LinkedIn, Ian Otsieno, on Twitter, or it's OWATTZ. Yes, I think I closed all my other social medias for my own mental health purposes.
Imagine I'm with you. Right now I'm only on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Mental health is real, man.
We didn't get your cameraman's name. Big shout out to you.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Always
Shout out
delivers. Asante sana.
Yes.
Guys, thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to follow us at Youth Plus Africa across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's been our show for today. Gents, I'm humbled.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Stonana. For sure, this is the last conversation we're having. Okay. For sure. Next time, let me buy you guys dinner. We talk about biashara. We see where to take this.
Maybe one day we'll be doing youth. Yeah, we'll just be to the road.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Amen. Okay. So see you next week, guys, and have a good one.
Thank you.